Hi everybody, I'm Terry Ryder from Hotspotting, bringing you the latest of my regular Good News Bulletins to counteract some of the relentless negativity in mainstream media. Now, according to a new industry survey, more than 70% of property investors say that this is a good time to buy residential property, with the majority also believing that it's pretty much business as usual despite the unusual conditions. A new survey by the Property Investment Professionals of Australia, that's PIPA, jointly with the Property Investors Council of Australia, that's PICA, has found that 72% of investors are confident about the market's short-term prospects. Survey results, which attracted responses from 1,877 investors across the nation, also found that the coronavirus crisis had not changed the investment intentions of 80% of investors over the next 6 to 12 months. Now, PIPA Chairman Peter Kaluzos said the survey showed that investors were overwhelmingly optimistic about the property market over the next year. Kaluzos says nearly 60% of respondents indicated that the pandemic had not made them change their investment plans over the next 6 months, with a further 18% saying the crisis had actually made it more likely they would purchase a property over that time frame. Now, this came before the publication of the latest price data from CoreLogic yesterday. Now, this showed that house prices had stayed the same or risen slightly in 9 of the 15 major market jurisdictions across Australia. That's according to the new data from CoreLogic. The overall national result was a small decrease, 0.4% in house prices in May, following small increases in both March and April. The overall result for apartments was a 0.2% fall in May. The CoreLogic figures confirmed that property prices continue to show resilience, with few signs yet of any significant decline in property values despite the impacts of the pandemic shutdown period. Now, in May, there were small decreases in house prices in Sydney, Melbourne, Perth and Darwin, but house prices rose in Canberra, Hobart and Adelaide, and they were unchanged in Brisbane, according to the CoreLogic figures. House prices also rose in the regional areas of South Australia, Tasmania and the Northern Territory, and were unchanged in the regional areas of Victoria and Queensland. The only regional markets to decline were New South Wales and Western Australia. And the overall result for regional Australia was a 0.1% decrease in May, which effectively means, in my book, no change. In the past quarter, prices have risen in 13 of the 15 market jurisdictions, led by a 2.8% rise in regional Australia and a 2.0% rise in Darwin. The only markets to record a decline in the past 3 months were Melbourne and regional Northern Territory. In annual terms, houses are up 8.3%, almost identical for apartments. And in terms of annual growth, the leading markets are Sydney up 15%, Melbourne up 12%, and regional Tasmania up 8.5%, while the leading apartment markets are regional Tasmania up 21%, regional South Australia up 15%, Sydney up 12%, and Melbourne up 11%. In other market news, demand for luxury properties has risen despite the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to some reports. The consistent sales of high-value properties is another indication of confidence returning to the real estate market and of the pent-up demand created by the coronavirus shutdown period. This has resulted in a number of high-end sales in recent weeks. The property developer Crown Group says it has made $63 million of sales of luxury apartments over the space of 3 months. Crown Group Director of Sales, Priska Edwards, said that despite the restrictions, the group had sold more than $20 million worth of apartments in each of the past 3 months. She says, we also sold 3 penthouses across our 3 newest developments, Arc, Waterfall and Mystery, in Sydney and Waterloo. And this is a first for us, she said. Now, the property group, The Agency, is another that has enjoyed very strong sales recently at the top of the market, including, tellingly, properties that had previously failed to sell. The Sydney office has sold 3 $10 million plus homes in the last week, one on the lower North Shore, one in the inner west, and one in the eastern suburbs. And that's on the back of 3 $10 million plus sales by one of their agents in the last week of April. Now, one trend I see is picking up as a result of the lockdown period is more people choosing to work remotely, working from home, something many people have been forced to do recently. And this is partly responsible, I believe, for a recent pickup in sales on the Central Coast area north of Sydney. Agency McGrath has reported what it calls an unexpected upward trend that has evolved over the past 6 weeks, with a high level of both buyers and tenants from outside the area seeking property on the Central Coast. Now, realestate.com.au has confirmed that the coast is the most popular regional area in New South Wales for metropolitan buyers, with beachside suburbs like Terrigal, Umina Beach and Batteau Bay showing up as the most popular places to look for real estate. And chief economist from the realestate.com.au, Nerida Knisby, said that Sydney buyers could see that now is a good time to pounce on property just north of the city. And she said the market isn't really looking like it will crash like we thought. And with most people back at work, or many people back at work, and interest rates still low, now could be a good time for them to buy. She says people are working from home and seeing it as a long-term option, and the Central Coast is a beautiful place to be. I think we're going to see more of this, with regional centres not far from major capital cities experiencing an uplift in demand. They will include places close to Melbourne, like Ballarat and Bendigo, and some of the smaller hill change towns in that general area. Regional cities like Orange, Newcastle and Wollongong in New South Wales. And in Queensland, the Sunshine Coast, a little north of Brisbane. So that's it for today. But before I go, I want to remind you that tomorrow evening is another of my regular live Q&A webinars. This is your opportunity to ask me questions live about your most pressing real estate issues, perhaps about locations you're thinking of targeting for investment or for a new home. So that's on tomorrow, Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. in the Eastern States, 6:30 p.m. in South Australia and the Northern Territory, and 5 p.m. in Western Australia. I'll hopefully see you then. Bye for now.